Alright, g'day guys and welcome. My name is Michael and I am the DeadAussieGamer here to share with you not my ideas, but the ideas of these wonderful people. Welcome to The Right Stuff, where we are going to be talking to some published authors about their various works within the industry of RPGs. Joining me today are none other than the ever wonderful Micah Watt, Philip Beckwith, and Sclanders. Each of which are published authors in various forms of RPGs. Hello, greetings, welcome, and g'day, guys.
Hello, mate.
How you doing, mate?
I'm doing well. I'm so excited for this. I mean, oh my god. So, first of all, let's start with brief introductions. Let's start with Micah. Micah, tell us about some of the works that you have been responsible for in the realm of RPGs.
Thanks, mate. I'm mostly published through DM's Guild and Drive-Thru RPG. So I have worked with other writers for collaborations and so forth, but mostly published under my own brand, which is Pyromaniac Press. I've completed some 45 odd products over my journey so far. And yeah, that's pretty much where I hail from and where I'm going to keep going to in the current climate, I guess.
Nice. Phil?
Yeah, so like Micah, I publish most of my stuff to DM School. Well, that's where I started. I've run a few Kickstarters, released a few things on Drive-Thru RPG as well. And then most recently, I've just joined the Goodman Games 5e team at the moment. So I've started working with them, which is a whole new experience. It's awesome.
Fantastic. And of course, dear friend of the channel, Guy, what are some of the places that you're published at the moment?
Well, I self-publish through my own website. We haven't done the DM's Guild route because we're usually breaking 5th edition, which is not allowed on the DM's Guild. So yes, we self-publish through our own website. And yeah, I've also run Kickstarters to kind of get the books going. Yeah, so that's what we've been doing. I've been doing I'm on my 3rd book now. The first 2 were hugely successful, so that's what we do.
Nice, awesome. And I am not a publisher, not a writer. I'm actually grammatically blind. So yeah, when I got asked to create this video, I decided to reach out to people that can help instead of myself. So I guess the first question I have for you on behalf of my community is, guys, what led you down the path of role-playing for the very first time? Why did you approach this as your means of creativity in the writing space? Micah?
Well, I've been playing D&D for more than 30 years now. I've played a number of other RPGs, but I mean, I got started because my parents were very strongly into fantasy novels, Tolkien, and Feist and the Dragonlance novels and so forth. So I started early. I was a voracious reader, very into the genre. Lucky enough that my parents were very supportive about it, and yeah, basically stumbled onto role-playing games as an extension of that, and really never looked back.
That's great. Phil?
Yeah, much like much like Micah. It was, well, honestly, it really was Dragonlance. Huge Dragonlance fan. Today was a good day for me. So yeah, that, and then I guess I knew it was a D&D setting. Just had never played D&D, and I read a lot of the books. Then a mate of mine sort of showed it to me through, I think it was 2nd edition back in just before 2000. And then from there, I played it once, left it until 5e came in, picked it up and ran with it from there.
Fantastic. That's awesome. Guy?
Yeah, I started role-playing a long time ago as well. But being in a very isolated country when I was first starting, we didn't have any other books. So we had one copy of 2nd edition sort of player's handbook and a photocopy of the monsters manual, and that was about it. So we started to write our own settings from then. I still have an old school textbook from 1993 or 94, which was our pirate version that we had written out, so you could play pirates in second edition Dungeons and Dragons. We realized a mistake though, because we didn't actually write down the rules. We just wrote down all of the ships' stats and values and things. And there's these ships with percentile numbers, and we have no idea what those actually mean. Apparently at the time though, we did. We just didn't feel like writing down the rules. So that was a lesson learned way back when. And yeah, I've just never looked back since then.
That's awesome, guys. All right, so we're going to turn this into an open forum discussion here because, one of the things I think that brings all writers together is their sharing love of the role-playing genre. But when it comes to approaching it as a content creator, whether it's, you're a YouTuber or whether you're a writer or, hell, if you make tiny miniatures, whatever it is, there is obviously a journey that each of us need to go on in order to eventually sort of emerge as a content creator. But along that way, we're going to obviously find struggles. We're going to find successful routes. And I want to create an open forum for you guys to talk about the early days of your publishing work, and have you guys discuss maybe some of the things that sort of maybe you found difficult, or maybe that were just straight away leading you down the right paths. What are some of the things that you guys came up with when you were starting out?
Well, if I can start out, because I didn't go through the DMs Guild for a few specific reasons. And I think that is something that, for me anyway, is a very interesting question. Is we self-published the first book that I did, A Complete Guide to Epic Campaigns. We decided to do it because I had basically just got a whole bunch of time on my hands. I'd resigned from my job and I was going full-time on the channel. There's the cover. Thanks, Michael. And so I had a lot of time on my hands, but we did everything in the book. I wrote it. I did all the imagery for it. I did all the tables for it. We even did the layout for it. But then we went, okay, well, where can we sell this? How do we get this out there to people? Because I think there's two different types of authors. I mean, jump in here, Phil or Micah, but you're either writing because you love writing, or you're writing because you want to turn it perhaps into something that you can do full time, in which case it immediately becomes commercial.
Yes.
And the moment it's commercial, there's a whole different set of questions that you should be asking yourself. And a whole different set of costs that suddenly come in as well.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, from my experience, it was a case of just being lucky enough that I had an art background so I could do the artwork, as well as enough of a YouTube watching obsession to be able to watch tutorials on how to do InDesign, to do the layout and the typesetting of the book and that sort of thing. And then enough friends to say, please read this for me, please do this, please do that, please do the next thing. So that's how I approached it from not going through the DMs Guild route, because they provide you with quite a lot of support, from what I understand anyway. But I mean, we've never done anything with them, so not so much.
I might jump in on that one, actually. What they provide you with essentially is a fair amount of stock artwork, which is very useful for people starting out. People on low budgets. You can get quite a good look for your products with essentially old D&D art. So it comes from all their old books. But they are very restrictive in how they'll let you publish, what you can publish, the content of what you publish, and really how to frame it, host it, put it together. So there are quite a lot of rules, and there's a fair bit of oversight. And also, they are hosting and they are managing this, so there is a fairly hefty cut to them. It is, however, a really great place for people just starting out to get on board, because all those rules require you to, essentially not beat your own path. Guy, you took it and you ran with it, and you learned all those things on your own recognizance, which is fantastic. But the DMs Guild essentially forces you to follow their path, obey their rules, and it kind of narrows this huge open world of publishing to new people to go, right, well, this is your very narrow path. It's a great way to start. I think most people tend to find if they're serious about publishing for profit or publishing as professional, they will use it as a start, and then a lot of them move on after that. So, you know, and it might be your own Kickstarter, or it might be just, you know, products on different spaces like Drive-Thru RPG, which is run by the same people but doesn't have the Wizards IP license, or, you know, Itch or other places like that. So it's got its pluses and minuses. Not probably, and this is something, again, I have a habit of speaking too much, so I'll say my piece and then shut up. But I think in a lot of cases, people outside the guild who haven't done anything on it might think that it's a little bit more structured, a lot more supporting than it actually is. It still requires you to put in the work and the effort. It just puts some boundaries on that. So a good place for people to start, not necessarily a good place for people to stay.
Yeah, and I'll also add that there's certain things that you sort of, I guess, learn as you go from the community more so than from DM's Guild itself. Things like using an editor, how to approach artists and things like that, putting together a PDF, for instance, making it from a Word document or whatever you're using InDesign, things like that, skills like that, which don't come with any real kind of support, barring those assets that are sold as, say, templates and things on the guild, but they're usually by guild creators, not the guild themselves. Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, obviously, something that both Phil and Guy, you have stepped into is the realm of Kickstarter. Now, there are hundreds of people who go on a Kickstarter, start out for the very, very first time, and then, you know, fizzle. What are some ways that you guys approached that, I guess, prevented that fizzle from happening? What were the things that you guys did when you approached? I heard a rumor, just to kind of kick this discussion off, that Tuesday is an important day. Like, for some reason, Kickstart, everything, always on Tuesday. Is that a thing?
Isn't that something from, was it Bill Gates or Steve Jobs or someone said they always release things on a Tuesday? So by the time that the weekend rolls around, people have already made up their mind about what they're going to buy. Something like that.
Yeah, we certainly only ever release on a Tuesday. Whenever we launch Kickstarter, we aim for Tuesday. I don't know. I'm not brave enough to try and not release on a Tuesday, but
a mess with the formula that works, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what the juju requires. And
that's right.
We'll do all the rain dances.
What I would say about a Kickstarter particularly, I mean, we've all actually done them on the channel, and I've seen or been part of a few that haven't launched. I mean, I've been lucky enough that mine have been successful. But what I would say is people often will just put up a Kickstarter and go, and then expect it to suddenly magically be funded. You have to do a lot of legwork first, and you have to do a lot of legwork during. Promote your product. Most writers I know don't really enjoy self-promotion. We just want to get things on pages and into people's hands that they might love, but we're not big on selling ourselves or our products. But it's something you have to do. If you want to actually be successful at a Kickstarter or even have a successful product, people have to know who you are to follow what you do. You have to push what's in it for them, what the value is for them. You could have the world's greatest campaign setting, but if no one knows what's in it, they're not going to be putting down their hard-earned money to support it.
And
yeah,
and you know what? I'm going to interject really quickly because this is literally the only thing I'll get to say on the topic. That is actually a great point, because if you are someone who does not like self-promoting, that's where people like me come in, where you have people who love to do nothing more than to talk to wide audiences. So, you know, if you are getting into that position and find yourself in a place where you don't necessarily enjoy the social media space, find a performer, an entertainer, a Twitch streamer, find someone who loves to chat about that sort of stuff in the field that you're in, and reach out to them, get them to, you know, sort of work in collaboration to get that hype up as well. It's a great place for actors and performers like myself to find opportunities. So yeah, do that too.
We'll talk after this, Michael. But no, what I was going to say was that honestly 90% of getting your, because really you want to get your Kickstarter funded day one if possible. 90% of getting that across the line is the work you do before you launch. Getting that either email list, getting people talking about it, talk about it for a good month or two beforehand, just get it out there, make sure people know about it, get them onto the notification page on Kickstarter. And then when you launch, it's there. They know what it is. All they have to do is click, back, and
Absolutely.
and they're already invested at that point.
I think the last thing to think about when doing Kickstarters is, this is certainly our policy, is we only do Kickstarters that we want to use ourselves.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know it goes without saying, but a lot of times it's like, oh, we'll just do a quick start. We'll do a Kickstarter and get some money in, and then we can develop the idea further. From our perspective, it's always about going with the product almost already finished, and just needing either finishing funding for that critical piece of artwork, or shipping and distribution. That's our biggest nightmare. But you're only getting into that space once you're producing lots of physical copies of books. So that's another thing to I think also bear in mind with Kickstarter specifically, is if it's all digital, it's a lot easier than if you have physical product. Because the moment you get physical product, there's a whole different skill set that comes in, which we pay people money to handle that problem because it's such a different kettle of fish altogether.
Fantastic. Now we have reached our time, but I do have one last question that I would like to throw to you guys. And this one I think is probably going to be the most relevant to a lot of the writers out there. Something that is absolutely terrifying for I think a lot of writers who are looking at getting into this space is when there is a commitment, when there is a monetary value applied to something, there is now a difference between writing as a hobby and as an enjoyment and going at your own pace and having to write as an obligation, especially when we're looking at things like Kickstarter. I'm sure that there are points where the weight of that just weighs down on you and burnout is, of course, going to be inevitable. What are some things you can say to people who maybe are afraid of this eventuality or are stopping themselves from releasing their material because this might be of concern?
Yeah, start small, I think. Go with something small, something that you can achieve, achievable goals, and build from there as you go. And then you'll build up that gusto, you'll build up that confidence, and you'll know where your limitations are as well. I think that way you're not over-promising. You're going into things well-informed, ready to go.
Fantastic.
I would say work to a word count every day. Not to a finished edited word count, but this is my process is if I've got to write, I'm just thinking now, I did an adventure for an Italian company, and they specifically wanted 40,000 words, which is quite a hefty adventure. And I went, that is a huge amount of paper that you're going to be covering with words. How do you start? And I said, all right, well, 40,000 words, I've got 3 months. I'm going to do 2,000 words a day. And you throw out 2,000 words a day, and suddenly you've got, in the first month, you've got your basic draft. You don't go back and check stuff. You just get it down onto the paper. Because once you've got it there, then you can spend the next 2 months going back and going, well, this makes no sense. But if I change this and that, then it suddenly starts to come together. And it obviously you've got your plans and all that sort of thing. But by fixing yourself to a deadline of, okay, I'm going to only write for 1,000 words or 2,000 words. What do you think you're capable of? You then don't get, I don't get burnout then, because I've got my 2,000 words. I did it in the first hour of the day. That's great. I'm done. And if you have a day and you're like, I just don't feel like writing, you go, well, if I can just write 2,000 words this evening, even if it's not going to be used, it's still out there and I'm still getting my ideas down rather than letting it brew and then get locked away behind writer's block.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Look, and plan it, planning. Know what works for you and stick to that plan. Like Guy said, 2,000 words, that's great. But if that's not how you function, if that's not what gets the best results for you, work out what yours is and then plan that out so that you don't leave yourself time poor. or you don't find yourself with a harsh deadline, especially if you're in control of it. It's a Kickstarter of your own making and you're launching. You know, a guy said, finish the product. Writing costs nothing, right? Like writing, if you're the writer, writing costs nothing. What costs is the art, the production, the layout, the editing, all the things that go on after. But if you've written that product already and it's there on the page, all it needs is the, you know, the cleanup, and the wow factor. You're not going to feel like everyone's waiting on you. Now it's a matter of just taking those steps and going with it. It's the same with publishing on these other mediums as well. You know, I mean, don't make promises you can't keep. And if you're not sure if you can keep them or not, well, don't make promises. Just work until you're ready and then go.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you so much to my guests. You're all absolutely wonderful, and I'm sure that anyone watching is definitely feeling a little bit more confident in regards to the right stuff. Of course, just before we send off, let's tell you where you can find these wonderful and awesome people. So I have known Micah and Phil for a while now, and I know that they both worked on the Rax Draconis series, which you can find the collection available on DriveThruRPG. I will put a link in the description below, as well as Big B's something very, very long that Michael did not memorize. That one. Big B's Handbook.
Big B's Handbook. Yep.
You named it, okay? And that's it. So there'll be a link to the description for those in the description below. But are there any other things that you guys would like to plug real quick?
We've got there's plenty of stuff I can plug. Just find me on Twitter at PBPublishing1. Just come up and chat, add me, whatever. Drop into my DMs. Thank you.
Yep, link will be down below as well. And of course, Micah, anything?
Yeah, look, similarly, you can look at my work on the DMs Guild or DriveThruRPG. DMs Guild doesn't allow publishers, so it's under my name, Micah Watt. DriveThru is under Pyromaniac Press. You can find me on Twitter at the same, Pyromaniac Press, and webpage at pyromaniacpress.com. But like Phil, and I think what you find with a lot of creators and publishers is we love to chat to people about various products or projects they might have. So just talk to us. You know, as Phil said, find us on Facebook, send us a DM. You know, we're more than happy to chat.
Nice. And of course, last but not least, Guy, you of course have the Epic Campaign Guide and the Nautical Adventures Guide, both of which of course will be on your website. Link will be in the description below. In addition, and I'm going to plug this for you because I can, for those of you who are interested in the Patreon scene, Guy has a Patreon reward tier that actually has translated the Advanced Nautical Guide into an audio reading. So you can actually get, pretty much him to read out to you the delightfulness that is in that book as well, and is very, very well worth the expenses there. You can also find him on Twitch and YouTube as, of course, none other than the great Game Master himself. Have I forgotten anything?
No, I think I should just hire you to do all the end interview speech punting.
Very well. I mean, there you go. And of course, you will be able to also see me here because this is my channel. If you found it, then you know where I am. Also, I will also shamelessly plug that me and Guy are currently working on a Talisman role-playing game, which you can find over on his channel right now. Basically, we're in a couple of episodes in. So yeah, come watch me and Guy play as well. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you again to my guests. And till next time, guys, as always, from us to you, game hard or die trying. Bye, everyone.